I'm going to have Congressman Tim Burchett on, and I'm going to yell at the wrong guy for the wrong things, or the right things, probably, because none of these Democrats will come on so I can yell at them, and none of these squishy Republicans will come on so I can yell at them. So I'm yelling at the guy that's trying to do the right thing in Congress. His name is Tim Burchett, and he joins us back on the program once again. Hey, Congressman, how are you?
I'm great, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Man, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate what you do, but I don't remember a time where I'm more frustrated with Congress. Tim, I don't think this is a schism between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, as some in the mainstream media are trying to make it. But I'll say this, if there is an impasse or a difference of opinion between Musk and some of the knucklehead, squishy Republicans, I'm kind of siding with Musk here. I feel like we got one big shot at this in terms of getting us back on track to balance the budget. And I'm fearful that we're going to lose this chance. What do you say about it?
I am fearful of that as well, but I believe this bill is moving us in the right direction, and I'll explain real quick to you. Under Biden, last 4 years, every 100 days, we added $1 trillion to the debt. Now they're saying in 6 to 8 years, we'll add $3 to $6 trillion. That is slowing this rate down, and that is the CBO score, Congressional Budget Office, which they miscalculated Trump's last bill in his first term by over $1 trillion, and $1 trillion in our favor to the good. So I don't. Everybody is. Just needs to, the bill hasn't passed yet. It goes to the Senate. They're going to make their corrections, and I've been told of several they're going to make that are very good corrections. And then we'll bring it back for a vote and just see how it goes there. And so I suspect it'll be a much better bill the second go-around. There's a lot of other things going on, too. I hope we're not missing the opportunity to get these DOGE cuts in place, because that would be a horrible. I think we'd miss a great opportunity if we don't get this stuff in, and I'm afraid people are deflecting, and it's easy to do up here, but until we can get the actual numbers straightened out, and in my head I've got most of them, and it's not everything I'd want. I mean, I wouldn't have put the SALT stuff in there. I wouldn't have put some other stuff. I would have made some cuts towards the Pentagon and other things. But I think it's moving in the right direction.
So if I'm to feel better about this, the idea is that the House kind of started it. They got it over to the Senate. If the Senate makes some additional cuts and they cut more in terms of spending in their version, then we get it back to the House, and you kind of put the fire underneath some of these purple state Republicans that are more squishy on some of these things, and force them to make a decision about the direction of the country.
Yeah, and also be careful not to make martyrs out of them. That's the big mistake we do, and they can it just emboldens them further. I think we just explain the bill and try to pass it, but it still goes back to my original thought that we should have single-issue spending bills. I tried to do that. Nobody would let me do it because they want to hide behind big bills.
Isn't this supposedly the last big, beautiful bill, right? It wasn't that the way that this was sold to the American people, that we got to get this one done and then promise, super serious, pinky promise, that we'll go to separating them out and doing individual bills in the next budgetary cycle? I thought that was the promise.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't listen to any promises up here, brother. They're all a bunch of liars, both parties.
Well, I'm a little bit disillusioned. I mean, and I don't know why. I've been doing it 25 years, Congressman, and it seems to me, and I understand I'm talking to one of the good guys, right? I joke about it, but you are one of the more hawkish fiscal conservatives up there. But I've been listening to Republicans for the 25 years tell me if they just had control, they'll do something about it. If they just and it's just garbage.
Yeah, that is just garbage. it's, because the nature of this game up here is just to stay in power. And because I remembered when I first got up here, a chairman, powerful chairman of a committee I was on, he said, if we get in power, we get to pick the trips, we get to raise all the money, and that's just, and you've got a 50-plus person staff, and the culture has to change. And the only way the culture is going to change is if we start electing a lot of conservative folks. Here we are, we elect a president. I've said this on your show before. We elect a president and we forget about every other race. You go down the ballot and it just drifts off. And there's no way to run a government. You've got to have engagement. If anything, the state and local levels should be higher because they're the ones that I think can inflict the most damage and correct the most. That's why people are moving into Tennessee, because we've got a conservative legislature, and they vote individual spending bills, low tax state, and the left spends a lot of time criticizing it, but they're sure as heck moving here fast to get out of all that northern mess. So yeah, but I'm frustrated. Sure, I'm frustrated. I was talking to Andy Biggs today. He's leaving to run for governor of Arizona. He's a very conservative congressman. He told me, Burchett, if you weren't depressed, you wouldn't care. And I thought, well, I guess you're right, because I do care, but I'm worried about the way we're going. Both parties are crooked. Let's just be honest. We had today a Doge committee. Marjorie Taylor Greene's the chairwoman. She asked me to serve on it. We've been friends since she got to Congress. And we were talking about the NGOs and how these so-called non-government organizations, one of them, they gave them they had $100 in their bank account, and the Biden administration gave them $1 billion to play with. So that's the kind of thing we're dealing with, and it's just all over the place. So please don't get too distracted on this big, beautiful bill. We can correct anything that's wrong in it. We have got to start passing these Doge cuts and not just the NPR.
How are those two things separate? I mean, forgive me. I was publicly educated over in Georgia. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but so we're past the big, beautiful bill is a budget bill for next year, but the Doge cut. But help me out.
The big but is a lot of the Doge cuts because of Senate rules. There's so many different rules over there that I don't understand that aren't in this bill, that they couldn't put the Doge cuts in there. And I think that is the message to send to America. The big, beautiful bill, it's tax breaks for working people. It's less regulation on energy production. That's oil, nuclear, all the things that we need to be cranking out, natural gas, liquefied petroleum, all those things. And the Doge cuts most of them are separate. They said they might have a piece of about 20 of them in there. But you remember Trump, he's got over 200 out there. And there's a growing concern that we're not going to address those, and that is a valid concern. I think that's where America should be focusing right now. And I think that's the Democrat strategy and the national media strategy is big, beautiful bill, and Elon Musk who's all upset about it, and all this other stuff. And it just a lot of it just isn't true on what's being put out.
I mean, it's not true in terms of. I mean, do you believe this? I mean, I trust you, Tim. Do you believe that this bill moves us toward, in the direction of, a balanced budget anytime in the foreseeable future?
I believe it does. I believe it's a start, and I'll give you the Tim Burchett explanation.
Okay.
You got a train coming down the tracks at you, and it needs to be going the other direction. It has got to eventually slow down and stop at some point before it can go the other direction. Under the Biden administration, the last 4 years, we increased the debt by $1 trillion every 100 days. This slows it down to something like, in 10 years, about $6 trillion we add to the debt, which stinks. But it's not every 100 days. It's over a 6-year period. And so we've got, it is slowing the rate of growth. and we've got.
I'm just trying to get this straight. And once again, I'm not fussing at you. I promise I'm not.
But you pay my salary.
You're telling me the best we can hope for is just to overspend by $1 trillion a year?
Yeah, for right now, just the first bite at it.
Well, your best, Tim, your best isn't good enough for the American people.
I agree.
I agree.
But
it's just not.
I agree, but we got a 3-person majority, and we're not going to get much better than that. And I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you one bit. Under my rules, I wouldn't have passed SALT. I would have cut everything. I would have cut all these programs that I could, but that's not under the contents of this bill. It's not capable. Well, that's why you have to follow up with the Doge cuts to start implementing all those other cuts.
Well, if anything, I appreciate your honesty. I mean, you're just as honest as the day is long on it, and I thank you for that. Talk to me a little about. I mean, you've started introducing bills. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. I mean, I know you've introduced at least 3 bills that would codify some of these executive orders in terms of cuts.
Yeah, this week I did. The first one, of course, is NPR, public television, which it's billions, but it's not going to move the needle that much, unfortunately. Which when it's crazy, you're talking about billions of dollars, doesn't move the needle. The other one was the second one was we've got to start having our medicine and the components made in this country. Mm-hmm. We have sold out to the Chinese. If you know that deal yesterday or the day before, that fungus thing that they imported, and let's just be honest, that is the freaking tip of the iceberg.
Amen.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
Amen.
And that we have just our schools, our public institutions, our research institutes. They'll tell us, oh, we keep the Chinese communists over in this section. And then they can open a door and walk across and figure out what's going. It's a joke. It's a total joke. We got to clean that mess up. And this does that part of it. The next was let's see. The third one was the gain of function research that
that restricts the virology lab and all of that. Yeah.
It just it makes those executive orders, cuts taxpayer funding from all that crazy stuff, and it gets us back hopefully into some sane ground. And it improves the safety of all that. It's a long bill, but I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it. But those are the 3 that I picked to start out on. And there are others. All the others are in committee. Most of them are that I've seen. Somebody's already got them in, and hopefully they'll get moving forward.
Congressman, it's always a good conversation. I wish. Somebody commented on the super text line that you sound tired. I keep up the good fight. I know you will. I know you'll fight for the people of the state of Tennessee, and you know how much we appreciate it, brother.
I appreciate it. I went to bed last night at 12:30, got up at 4:30 this morning, so I am a little bit tired right now. I've been working on this stuff around the clock, and we just got to keep fighting. We cannot give up. We've got to elect more conservatives, because under these circumstances, this is in the House right now. Let's get with our senators and support them in making this a much better bill, and let's bring it back over and let's clean it up.